I told my dad, "You don't get a front row seat at my wedding when you were a no-show for 17 years." So my dad left when I was 6. Not like a dramatic thing, he just sort of stopped showing up. One day he was there, and then he wasn't. And my mom never really explained it in a way that made sense to a kid. I know now that he had another family somewhere in Ohio, that he started over and just kind of forgot he'd already started once. I haven't seen him in person since I was maybe 10 years old. At my grandma's funeral, where he stood by the door in a suit that didn't fit and didn't come near us once. We've exchanged maybe 11 emails total over the course of my entire adult life. He checked in when I graduated high school, I know because my aunt forwarded it to me, and I responded with thanks. That was genuinely our relationship. I got engaged in September to my fiancé Marcus. Marcus is kind, he's steady, and he has been more of a family to me in 3 years than most people I've known my whole life. I was so happy. Still am. My aunt, my dad's sister, not my mom's, she reached out about 2 weeks after I announced the engagement on Instagram. She was excited for me, which was sweet, and then she mentioned kind of casually that she'd told my dad. I just said okay and didn't think about it much. Then my dad texted me directly for the first time in about 4 years. He said congratulations, that he was really happy for me, that he'd heard Marcus was a great guy. Then he said he'd love to be there on my special day, and asked if I could send him the details. I stared at that text for probably 20 minutes. I didn't respond that night. I talked to Marcus about it and he said whatever I wanted to do, he'd support it. He's never met my dad, there wasn't anything to meet. I called my mom the next morning. She didn't say anything for a second and then went, "Well, that's something," which is really the most my mom will give you on a topic like that. I thought about it for 3 more days and then I called my dad. He picked up on the second ring, which surprised me. He sounded nervous. He said my name like he was testing it out, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to use it. I told him I appreciated that he reached out and that I was glad he knew about the wedding. Then I said, "But I want to be honest with you, I don't think it makes sense for you to be there." He went quiet for a second. Then he said he understood it had been a long time and that there was a lot he wanted to make up for. He said he'd been doing a lot of reflecting lately. I think he might be in some kind of program, and that he really wanted the chance to be part of my life going forward. Starting with the wedding. I said, "Dad, I think that's genuinely good for you, but the wedding isn't a starting point. It's one of the most important days of my life, and you don't get a front row seat at my wedding when you were a no-show for 17 years. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said he knew he'd made mistakes and he wasn't asking me to forgive him overnight, just to let him in a little. I told him I wasn't punishing him. I said if he wanted to start building something, I was actually open to that coffee sometime, slow on my terms. But the wedding was mine and Marcus's, and the people in those seats were going to be people who had actually been there. He hadn't been there. That wasn't me being cruel, it was just true. He said, "Your aunt said you might say that," and I said my aunt was right. He kind of laughed at that, this short sad sound, and said he was proud of me. I didn't really know what to do with that, so I just said thank you and that I'd reach out after the honeymoon. My aunt called me the next day and said I'd handled it with a lot more grace than she expected. I don't know if that was a compliment exactly, but I took it as one. Marcus has no idea what to do with any of this, which is honestly the correct reaction. The wedding is in April. My mom's walking me down the aisle.